This version of Pokemon Sword is a little bit different than the base one. Let me explain. See, the Pokemon in this region are a little special. Take this Growlithe, for example. Looks like a regular old Growlithe, right? Well, it might look the same, but it isn't. This Pokemon is no longer a fire type. It is a rock and bug type. And this is just one of every other Pokemon in the game that has had their typings modified to be a completely different type. Whatever you knew about Pokemon types is now completely gone. In this region, we're playing Pokemon as if it's 1996 again. And to make matters worse, every Pokemon has their ability randomized as well. Oh, and it's a hardcore Nuzlocke. And with the randomness of typings, I'm bound to lose Pokemon in this run. So let's see if I can somehow scrape my way into Wyndon Stadium to defeat Leon's random team. You know, it probably doesn't matter what typing Munchlax is, because if he's going to sleep all game, what's really the point? Pay no attention to the fire, water, and grass attributes these three have, because that is not at all what they are. Also, just don't even pay attention to them, as they're not our starters at all either. Since we randomized every single type, we might as well randomize every encounter as well. So we get to choose from Charmander, Litten, and Vanillite. I choose Litten since Vanillite is meh, and Charizard is, well, overrated. Wolfie would not be proud of my decision right now. I'm so sorry. What am I fist bumping? This means Hop gets a Charmander, which is fitting, since, you know, his brother does have a Charizard. And man, am I itching to see what our first Pokemon type is going to be. Yay! We're an Ice type! The worst type in the game! But Wolfie here has Ice Scales as its ability, which is pretty fitting given the typing. I've actually never heard of this ability, and it seems like something a Legendary would have, considering it halves all damage from special moves, which seems pretty broken. So hopefully we can keep the ability into Incineroar, as abilities do have a chance to change if we evolve. It's a low chance, but it is a chance, and the same thing goes for typings. Now, unfortunately, we do lose this battle, but we don't have Pokeballs yet, so that death won't count. And the reason we lost is we only have Sheer Cold and Lick. And Lick straight up doesn't affect Purloin, so I'm guessing it's a normal type. Over in the Slumbering Weald, I actually hit a Sheer Cold when it actually doesn't matter, because Zacian straight up is immune to attacks right now. Yeah, Hop, one-hit KO moves had no effect on this thing. Safe to say we're cooked. Now, I like to get hidden encounters for a Nuzlocke, because then it's just kind of me choosing who I'd like to be on the team, and that seems kind of unfair. But since we straight up don't know any of the typings, I'm just going to pick whatever Pokemon I want, as we could get something good based on stats, but a typing or an ability could just ruin the Pokemon completely. For example, if we get an Azumarill without huge power, yeah, that's pretty bad. In this case, I choose Elizabeth, the Nidoran, who happens to be another Ice type, but with the Grass type added to it. Its ability was Ice Face, which I don't think helps us at all, as that's Ice-Q's ability, but we'll live. Over on Route 2, I run into this Roly-Coly, who I named Oli. You could say he's my Roly-Coly Oli. If you know, you know. And he's a poison bug type, which is awesome. And he also has Gooey, which is a plus. Now, for some reason, I legitimately cannot use the move Ice Ball, and I have no idea why. Even in the description, it says I can't use the move. So some insight would be great if any of you have it. This isn't the only move that did this during the playthrough. There's quite a few. Our first real challenge is our second Hop fight, and I actually thought the game didn't randomize types for important trainers because they all led me to believe that they were the exact same types. And this is because the moves that Pokemon get are more likely to randomize into stab moves than any other moves. Pidove used Peck, Scrub used Dragon Breath, and Whismur used Quick Attack, which all correspond to their base typings. So I went back to look into the files. And yeah, no, Scrub is a Dragon Fairy type, Pidove is a Dragon Flying type, and Whismur is a normal flying type. What are the odds? Anyways, that was a tough fight, but with no casualties, we move on to the wild area, where a bunch of different encounters are waiting for us. Starting with Ralts, who is a Poison Fire type, which I think Salandit is the only one to ever have that typing. Unfortunately, this thing does have Sandstream as its ability, so let's pray to Arceus that that'll change. In the Dappled Grove, I choose a Growlithe because why wouldn't I? And I named him Rockruff because, like I said, he's a part rock type, with the other half actually being grass. Vibrava was a dark fire type, which was cool. And on top of that, we keep that electric immunity with the Lightning Rod ability. Oddly enough, Lombre is the exact same typing, so I just named him normal, and off we went to Motostoke, where we take care of some Team Yell business, where Hop just happens to have a shiny Purloin. That thing wasn't shiny before, was it? You cheater. That's the only way you could win. And I may or may not have 999 rare candies in my inventory. This isn't about me, buddy, so don't bring that up. This fight actually almost killed Burner, since we're a fire type, and Diglett kept using Rollout, and I couldn't just switch because this Hoot Hoot used Bind. But after KOing that, I was free from it, allowing me to switch into normal to finish this up. The good news about newer games is they straight up tell you if a move is super effective or not, and I don't think I can just turn that off, so sure, why not? Normally, this wouldn't be useful if you've been playing the game for 20 years, but in this case, it actually is useful. I wouldn't be surprised if Chairman Chairman Rose was behind every single Pokemon magically changing all of their types overnight. It was you, wasn't it, old man? In Motostoke, I did fish up a Wooper, and yeah, I don't know what's happening to some moves where they straight up just can't be used, but I'm not gonna try to fix it. Anyways, Wooper, what have you changed into? Ground and Ghost type is so dope. One of the cool things about having a Stone evolution so early is we can straight up evolve it since all of the wild area is available to us right now. So one Firestone later, and Rockruff the Growlithe is now Rockruff the Arcanine, who instead of a Rock and Grass type is now a Rock and Bug type. The other upside to this is I can relearn a bunch of moves, and it looks like he is really liking his name, being able to learn the move Accel Rock, Lycanroc's signature move. And with Rockruff, Hop was no problem thanks to his Pokemon being literal trash. Over in the Galar Mine, we caught a Bug type Applin, which actually makes sense, but that's not why I'm mentioning this place. No, this is the funniest thing. The Lairon is just running on the tracks. We do fight Beat in here, but again, with an Arcanine, this was just way too easy. And from there, Milo is up next. Oli did evolve and his poison typing became Grass, and Goob became a ground fighting type instead of ground ghost, which I don't know how I feel about. Elizabeth turned into an ice ground type, but the real kicker here is it has the ability Imposter. So I don't know if I'm really going to use this thing. I did hope normal would turn into something not so normal, and it kind of did. It's now a normal type. You can't make this up. Anyways, Milo has 2 Pokemon, which is just laughable because the level cap for this gym is level 20. He leads a Steel Dewpider with King Shield, and Arcanine's Leech Life did a ton of damage for being resisted. Goob here finished it off with a Revenge, and then Brione comes in. I do switch Rockruff in, which is scary as Milo does Dynamax, and the TM compatibility is everywhere right now. I actually can't teach Protect to any of my Pokemon, which is pretty important with the Dynamax feature. Either way, Brione's Max Strike did absolutely nothing. Now, unfortunately, I mistakenly didn't click Dynamax, and this led to Rockruff taking a brutal Max Rockfall, but somehow we lived, and Goob can eat one on entry. So now this huge Goob can get a Max Knuckle off, but Milo just happens to have Charm, and yeah, we ended up doing nothing. So instead I opted for Hex, which did a little bit more, although I forget that Scorching Sands is a special move, so that was absolutely for nothing. Overall, there was pretty much nothing to worry about in this fight, although I keep getting the same exact types: Rock, Bug, Ice, and Fire types. I need new Pokemon with new types. With our first gym badge down, that is exactly what I set out to do. But, sir? I can't leave if you don't let me go. Please let go. You're kind of hurting me. Fine. I guess you could be my next encounter. Psychic and Poison type. Not bad. Liquid Voice isn't terrible either. I mean, it would be great as its normal ability. Now the question is, will you keep that typing as a Marshtomp or change it? Alright, that's pretty awesome, I'm not gonna lie. Got a little Dragougi action going on. Over in Holbury, I sit here wondering why the train system in these games is even a thing, since they literally just give you the Corviknight taxi to travel. It would have been great if they postponed that feature a little bit, making the train actually useful. Anyways, we can fish up an encounter here, so we do that, and it's a Bergmite, which might not seem very special on the surface. However, this Bergmite happens to be a Steel and Flying type, and Steel is great defensively, and Avalugg has an amazing defense stat. So I'd say this is a W, even though it's probably best if we wait until it evolves. Moving along, Nessa is our next fight, and I wish I could make gym leader specific types, but if I do that, I think it would make everybody be themed trainers, so I didn't want to do that. Nessa starts off with an Abra, and as I miss my Rock Tomb, she rain dances. Nessa, I'm not a fire type in this region. From here, Wooloo is out next, who Aqua Jets, so I guess the rain dance made some type of sense. And just when I thought this fight would be a cakewalk, Golisopod steps on the field. Now, I did max Rockfall, which didn't do much, so I set the bar pretty low for her. And yeah, no, she couldn't even reach that bar. What was that pathetic damage? Oddly enough, when Dynamax was over, it Shadow Punched, which did so much more. Don't know what the AI was thinking there. Rockruff is OP right now. With our water badge down, Chairman Rose wants to speak to us, and me and him are very alike. We dress however the fuck we want in a meeting. Meanwhile, the girls here are dressed all nice. Maybe I could get along with you, Rose. Galar Mine 2 brought us one of the best Pokemon to ever exist, Heracross. I named her Corazon, and she is an electric dark type with Flower Gift as her ability. Safe to say she's on the team. And she also has a static encounter for us since she's holding a fossil. Nothing, and I mean nothing, eventful happened on our way back to Motostoke. But once we do arrive, we have a Marnie fight, which is pretty interesting. I like her having a Ghastly. I think it fits. But she also had this shiny Rufflet who had Grassy Surge, who just so happened to use the move Psychic Terrain, which I thought was pretty funny. Marnie's last Pokemon scared me though, and this is because it had the move Glaciate, which nearly killed Oli. I did try to pivot around until Goob was able to Storm Throw for super effective damage, meaning that this thing is a fighting and ice type. Now, I was curious if the Pokemon in Kabu's gym were going to be randomized, and they were, as the Litwick was everyone's favorite little seal, a ground and grass type. And I would have shown this thing the utmost care in the world, had it not been burnt to a crisp from the Solosis. from this opposing trainer's team trying to defeat me. And it almost killed Nidoqueen as well. Hopefully that's not a bad sign for things to come. But it might be, as Kabu is a serious trainer leading a Crawdaunt. I decided to lead something different this time to give others a chance, but this might have been a mistake. As Smackdown didn't do much, and Hypnosis is a Psychic type move, which is actually good for us since Corazon is a Dark type. And it looks like I'm right, as one Assurance destroys this Crawfish. This is when things start to ramp up just a bit, since I randomized the game to replace Pokemon based on similar stats. Normally Kabu has a Ninetales and an Arcanine, so it makes sense that Primarina is up next. I guess since I saw Brione before, it just tells me Primarina is a Rock and Bug type, which is pretty bad for Corazon. But I stayed in anyways and took a Rock Tomb. And since Kabu is an idiot and just Poison Powders for whatever reason, another Smackdown finishes it off. But it does in fact get worse. Volcarona is in. Switching out is always risky against these kaijus, but sometimes it does pay off as Goob eats a Rockfall. Now, I don't know what typing this thing is, it seems like so many Pokemon are Rock Bug types, but it doesn't matter. This guy has Max Hailstorm for the Curveball, and straight up sends Goob back to the PC without remorse. You did not need to do all that. With a free switch into my MVP, I'm hoping to bait another Rockfall, but instead I'm met with a Max Steel Spike, which gives this thing a defense boost. At this point this battle has gone south, but I'm expecting an Icy Wind, so I go into Burner. Unfortunately, I didn't really put it together that Volcarona might be Steel Ice, so I Assurance and the Steel type move it's using is Iron Defense. The reason it did damage is because when Dynamax, the move Iron Defense turns into Max Steel Spike, despite it being a setup move. This lets us Ember as it keeps using Iron Defense, and I totally expected Burner to die here, but we do end up getting a burn. Now I have no idea what move triggered Max Rockfall, but if it was anything with damage, it could have straight up killed Vibrava, but no, we just got Icy Winded, and yeah, one more Ember plus burn damage, and that's that. That could have gone very differently. But I'm glad Kabu was able to put up a decent fight, and Vibrava was given time to shine, and more importantly, it's not dead. I know a bunch of you probably want to see Flygon come to fruition. This kinda sucks about Goob though. I liked his typing. With our Fire Badge down, we continue on getting more encounters in the wild area, and we also get a higher level cap, meaning a bunch of Pokemon can now start evolving and being a little bit more useful, so I don't just have Rock and Bug types. I did find a Beldum, but damn, these things are hard to catch, and this time was no different. Eventually it was mine though, and it was an Electric Grass type. Some more include Peter the Ice Steel type Araquanid, and KFC the Fire Psychic type. Soon we make it to Hammerlock where I evolve some more Pokemon. Chomp here is now a Dragon Fairy type instead of a pure Dragon, and while here I can go talk to this guy who wants to see an Applin, and I happen to have one, and basically he just wants to show a girl he likes who's moving away to like confess his love or something, because a worm in an apple definitely does that. But he's horrible at lying, so instead of me giving him the greatest assist of all time, he tells her that he didn't catch the Applin himself, but hey, it all ended up working out, as she says that no matter the distance, she'll be waiting for him to catch her an Applin. But I doubt it. She's definitely going to fold to the first person who ever gives her an Applin. What? Oh, nothing. I'm just talking to myself. Anyways, he gives us a Tart Apple for helping him out, and this way we can actually evolve Wormy. Well, not really. I don't want Flapple. I think Appleton is 10 times better, and unfortunately the item you get here is depending on the version you have, so in order to get the other item to evolve into Appleton, I have to wait until later in the game. So that's what I'm gonna do. Now, one more thing. I found a Calabopussy, and normally I think Graplock is pretty bad. It should have been a poison or maybe a water type alongside its fighting type, and I'll die on that hill. However, I needed to catch one, and it's a rock fairy type, which I just love. Okay, maybe not the rock typing, but I do like the fairy typing. I just looked over one little thing. If you know anything about Graplock, which I feel like nobody does, which is why I want to use it, this thing needs the move Taunt in order to evolve. I checked Klob's level up movesets, and it does not get Taunt, so my only hope here is that the TM compatibility works in our favor, as Taunt is a TM, and if not, then this Pokemon is completely useless, as we can't evolve it. I don't need another rock type, but on the off chance it turns into something else, I needed to try it. Like I said, Taunt is a TM, and they aren't randomized, so let's see if I can finally use a Graplock without it being terribly bad. Oh my god. That is so insanely lucky. Thank you, Arceus. Thank you. And its rock typing got turned into a ghost typing. That is awesome. Moving along to Route 6, I found a Munchlax as my encounter, and it took a long while to catch, but it was another fairy type, so it was well worth it. Even though at the beginning I said that this thing would be pretty useless, since it sleeps all the time. On this route as well, this Machoke transformed into Rockruff and used my own Rock Tomb against me. This nearly KO'd Rockruff, and since it outsped, I didn't want to risk risk an Accel Rock, as she also has that move now, so Peter had to finish this fight off. We also tried to revive some fossils, but these were pretty lackluster. Upon arriving in Stoinside, Hop decides to battle us, and Kangaskhan is a wild lead, while I led Caracross, but he started smoke screening, and Rock Tomb wasn't very effective, so I switched in Clob. I kid you not, this guy was not trying to lose. He not once used anything other than smokescreen. I mean, I know you were losing a lot, but this is just straight up ridiculous. I just switched out Peter and Clob until I could hit another fighting type move, as it was indeed a steel type. And once that was finally down, every other Pokemon on his team was a breeze. Now before we take on B, I did evolve some Pokemon right at the level 36 level cap, this being my 3 starters. And Swampert is unfortunately no longer a dragon type, but a flying type, which kind of blows. But Wolfie does drop the ice typing and is now ground, which I prefer, as pair that with ice scales and we take less damage from most water type and grass type moves. KFC actually learned legendary fire type moves before he evolved and did happen to keep his fire psychic typing. I also evolved Colossal, but he stayed the same as well. With our new team members, we take on B, who leads a Wailord. I tried to be cheeky and belly drummed with a Citrus Berry, but I completely forgot. Alolan starters are terribly slow. And well, while I was able to 1000 Waves Wailord to death, a Fairy Fire type Jinx is up next. Figuring it would go for a fire type move against my rock type, I go into Peter on a Steel Wing, and this Jinx has Libero. So now it's a pure Steel type. Fearing a fire move, I go into KFC. She does flatter, which sucks, but if we don't get confused, Fusion Flare should destroy this thing. We take a Rising Voltage and... how did we not KO that thing? I have a special attack boost. From here, I think Corazon is a good switch, as we do resist Rising Voltage. I don't think it has a fire type move, but anyways, we do get flattered, which is why I didn't Sucker Punch, and we break through once more for an assurance. And Mudsdale is in. This thing has the moves Obstruct, Topsy-Turvy, Hone Claws, and Nasty Plot. What are the odds? So safely assuming it's a dark type, I Leech Life with Rockruff, but knowing it can't do anything, I just go into Clob, who can Dynamax for a Max Knuckle and get an attack boost. With that done, Copper Jaws in to Dynamax, and our Max Knuckle is not very effective. And B's Max Quake does so much damage. Luckily, I was able to Max Starfall for a lot of damage, but I'm realizing now I have a severe ground type weakness. Unfortunately, I don't have a choice, so I need to send something in. And Arcanine is the only one who is neutral to Max Quake. And we actually tank it surprisingly well. And from here, a Leech Life KOs, and I guess it wasn't a ground type, plus we got a crit, which I don't know if it mattered, but that was still pretty scary. Before we can head out of Stoinside, we have to stop Bede from vandalizing this mural, and I didn't think anything of this battle until I switched in Peter and took a body press, which is quite effective. My heart sank a little there. Thankfully, we retaliated right after with a Meteor Mash. The good news is I know Munchlax is a fairy type, and we flinched it with Iron Head, so that was down the following turn. The rest of his team was pretty much in shambles after that, and Bede is immediately taken into custody right after, which is crazy if you think about it. This guy isn't a cop. Plead the fifth, Bede. I wasn't going to mention this Rufflet, but it's a steel psychic type with the ability Lightning Rod, which is pretty neat. Speaking of Opal, she leads a Comfey, which I totally underestimated. As I obstructed, she went for a workup, still not thinking anything of it. But Bella here is a dragon, and Comfey had Dragon Claw, which, oh, that did a lot. Expecting another one, I go into Clob, who's immune, so that we can retaliate with a Spirit Break. I did get poisoned though. With Golduck in, I was scared, but being that Opal gave us a defense boost, I stay in on a Grav Apple. But Spirit Break wasn't effective, meaning this is either one of 3 types: Fire, Poison, or Steel, which KFC is great for, so I switch in on a Grav Apple. I tried using Psyshock first, thinking it's a poison type, but it resisted that, so this is a Steel type, and it's about to get Fusion Flare. X-Scissor? I can't believe it has X-Scissor! And it used it on the second turn of KFC being out. That one hurt, but the show must go on, so I go into Clob, who is tanking Grav Apples, and we got another scare thanks to Opal's crit. Luckily we are still alive, but Brick Break misses the KO and isn't super effective. The good news is Gargoyle has Sap Sipper, and can just Bullet Punch for the revenge kill. The only reason I didn't go into him sooner was it couldn't really damage with the moves I have. Krokorok was really easy as it died in 2 hits, despite it getting a super effective move off. Opal's last Pokemon is a Blissey, and yeah, it's going to Dynamax, but this thing has abysmal stats. So I just roost after a pathetic Max Knuckle, which was super effective by the way, and shortly after Gargoyle claims victory. I so didn't need to lose KFC there, but it's alright, as we can evolve some more Pokemon, like Snorlax, who went from a pure fairy type to a poison fire type, and Palossand turned into a water poison type, and of course Magicy turned into just a pure fire type. Will I walk you back to Hammerlock? Is it bad if I say no? Hopefully Team Rocket doesn't kidnap her or something. I did miss some encounters in the wild area, so I went to go grab them. Those being Bolt, the Grass Dragon, Axew, the Poison Psychic, and Whirlipede, the Fire Dragon. A lot of dragons. Can't complain though. Well, actually, I can complain because Scolipede is no longer a dragon type. Over in Hammerlock, there's a huge explosion in town, and I got a feeling that somebody probably just let loose on the toilet. Leon, was that you? You look guilty. Oh, maybe it was Hop, since he's all the way at the edge of town. For this fight, he actually let a hair across, which is cool to see, but stop trying to copy me, bro. You're still not gonna win. Poltergeist did surprise me being a fairy type, nearly killing me, but nothing Floaty couldn't handle. Crawdaunt was a psychic type, so I went into Corazon for a one-shot with Sucker Punch. Starmie was a two-shot, and Leafeon was a fighting type, or so I thought in the moment, and Corazon almost died, giving me un ataque de corazón. That means heart attack in Spanish. Really living up to your name, girl. On the next route, Throw was a psychic steel type, and this Garbodor almost killed 2 of my Pokemon because it got a download boost for its attack. Good thing I have an Avalugg. I'm fast as fuck, boy! Jeez, slow down. Well, this is gonna be an annoying route. This is actually a problem because I don't think I can get past the Lanoon to get another encounter, and obviously I don't want a Lanoon, but thankfully if I just exit and re-enter the route, it's not always a Lanoon there, so Pancham is our encounter. It's a water type. I did overlook one more thing though. This is the same situation as Clobbopus, in that Pancham needs a dark type move in order to evolve, and not being a dark type, this can be kinda tricky. I did try getting some TRs, but she couldn't learn any of them. But then I went to go grab the TM for Thief in Hammerlock, and she could learn that, so we evolve her, and now she's a water grass type. It's like Urshifu, but from Walmart, especially since it actually does get access to Surging Strikes. Why does this feel so right? Soon enough, I arrive in Surchester, which means another gym fight, this time being Gordy. And his lead is a Lunatone, which I think is a grass type, as it was hitting some Grav Apples, and Spore didn't work on it. From there, Floaty made quick work of it with some Poison Tails. The trend continues as Hatterene's bug typing is weak to Aerial Ace, but he did have Thunderbolt for coverage. Another, and thankfully that was down, but then Rhyperior was in. Trying to play it safe, I go into Gargoyle to tank a hit, and we do tank a Rock Slide. From there, he reveals Secret Sword of all moves, and our Dragon Hammer did nothing, so I go into Club the following turn to get a Secret Sword of our own off. Which, by the way, this entire time I thought Secret Sword was a physical move. I'm pretty sure I've made this mistake in the past. Anyways, I said it was Secret Sword that we got off, but it was actually a Max Knuckle, and we got destroyed by a critical hit from Gordy. We do knock it out, but he still has his ace, Chandelure. And I did see a Lampent earlier who was a ground and electric type, so it's very possible that this is as well. Unfortunately now, I've put myself in a position where I can't really switch anyone in, and this thing is faster than most of my team, meaning, yeah, Club finally goes down. I'm sorry, pal. From here, I send in Heracross, and this is to bait a Max Quake, if it has it of course, so I can go into Floaty who is immune, and that's exactly what ends up happening. With electric terrain setup, the only one who can take a move is Corazon, so that's who I go into. From here, I made the tough decision that I need to sack someone, and since Corazon hasn't really been doing much, thanks to lacking a good physical electric move, I decide that she is the one to go next. Now it was just up to Asia to live a move, and she does. One Surging Strike later, and that is down. I wouldn't have risked the crit had I had Water Shuriken, which has priority, but I didn't teach it to him. That was a rough battle, and laying down the fallen comrades was not easy. However, I'm sure they'll be rooting for us from inside the death box. If I had just brought Bella with me. With the cap raising a mere 4 levels to 46, I start evolving some more. First up is Flygon, everyone's favorite bug dragon. I mean, ground dragon. I'll never forgive them for that. And as I say that, we see that it dropped the fire typing and is now part bug. And we keep our lightning rod ability, which is great. And Arm is a grass flying type, which, I don't know, it's probably a downgrade from electric typing. Also, not being able to use Tail Glow on Burner is a pain that I'd never thought I'd feel. With our brand new team ready, we go get some grub, listen to Sonia's boring theories, and back to the exciting stuff, battling. I got a theory for you, Sonia. What if you just shut the fuck? Let's just ignore her, Hop. Now, Hop is starting strong with a Noivern with Plasma Fist, which, if it wasn't for my grass typing, would have done so much more. But this thing isn't an electric type, and Acrobatics from Arm straight up one-hit KO the bat. Porygon Z is next, and I kid you not, another correct prediction. Arm is on a roll. Scissor goes down to 2 of them, and Vaporeon is a psychic type, so Burner can easily handle this. I wonder why his last Pokemon randomized into a Gloom. Oh well, see ya, Hop. Next up was Route 9, and this Team Yell person was being a real pain. Pinsir had Intrepid Sword as its ability, getting a boost, and it's a steel type with the move Sunsteel Strike. That's Solgalio's signature move, and it was hurting until I went into Avalugg. Luckily, the hail was whittling this thing down, and eventually, we come out of here unscathed. By defeating her, we finally get the Rotom Bike, and this gives us access to more encounters, as well as this Razor Claw for a Sneasel I have, which loses its fighting type upon evolution for another Water Grass type. Sucks to suck. The crocodiles in the water are just, they're awesome. They have Ice Beam? I take it back. You are not awesome. And the only reason Arm died was because of the damn hail. This blows. See, I told you it doesn't matter how good these Pokemon are. A bad typing will just F you. A special attacking crocodile with no stab move, and he was cooked. Well, that lasted no time at all. At least turn into something good, or have a great ability or something. You would turn into an ice type. Just rub it in. You stay here forever now, Arm Killer. I also realized here that the evolution items for Applin are also version exclusive. I thought it was only exclusive for Hammerlock, and you could get the other item later in Axew's Eye, but no, I'm stuck with Flapple. Meanwhile, in Axew's Eye, I decided on an Eevee, who's Electric Fairy, and I know it'll keep this typing into Leafeon, so that's who I evolve into. Keeping it moving, Marnie was super easy, that is, until she wasn't. We had a close call with Striker, and I made a bold play with Wolfie, making us take a super effective attack. And there's no way the poison doesn't knock me out here. Oh, Wolfie, I guess you weren't as broken as they make you out to be. By the way, Ice Scales was the only reason the attack didn't kill me there. From here, we have to do a series of Yell battles, which could go very bad, but we were good for the most part. Piers should be easy since there's no Dynamaxing in this fight, but he starts off with a Mamoswine. Asia was able to Surging Strike for a lot of damage, but this thing is fast, so it does get 2 Tri-Attacks off before going down. I did switch for Politoed, and I wish I knew what typing it was, as a Dragon Hammer came our way, and if I had just gone into my Fairy type, that would have been so clutch. Or would it have? This could be a Steel type, as an Anchor Shot shot off next, and we're weak to that, being an Ice type. Luckily, I did Sacred Sword, and that was indeed super effective, so one more and Politoed is out of here. And guys, the heaters do not stop there. Lucario is his 3rd Pokemon, and it also has Anchor Shot, which hits me on my Switch. And unfortunately, Obstruct doesn't lower his defense since he just went for a Sticky Web. Now, I can't just switch out because Anchor Shot locks you in, but if we just don't get crit, we can Strength Sap, which lowers his attack and gets us all the way back to full HP, which is what happens, and man, that move is good. From here, Piers switches to using a special Steel type move, and one Fire Lash destroys Lucario in one blow. And his last Pokemon straight up is a Serena, which didn't put up a fight at all, so that is hands down the easiest gym we've had. You know, I'm no expert, but I don't think I'd be in a tunnel if Dynamax Pokemon were going rampant. Up next was Raihan's gym, and these gym trainers are no joke, with these two getting randomized into Mence and Metagross. By playing my cards right with certain switches, this was surprisingly easy. The next fight, however, I needed to swap out Pokemon because of the level cap, so that we don't overlevel, and my Boltoon straight up bit the dust from both of them just teaming up on him. And luckily they didn't team up on one single Pokemon after, as that could have made me lose another one. And predicting the type correctly, this was over on the next turn. And the final trainer battle I didn't think anything of until this Persian used X-Scissor and almost killed Normal. Which, like, who cares? But still, I don't need this to be a massacre. And to make things worse, Vikavolt already got 2 Geomancies off. I did manage to KO it without any deaths as Shadow Claw was super effective, but we weren't finished with this gym just yet. Raihan was still left. And this could be very easy or very difficult, as this is also a double battle. Oh, thank God. All we have to do is attack the right slot. And you would think that Shuckle really doesn't do anything here, but you couldn't be more wrong. Yes, Heatmore was no issue, but Gyarados was up next, and I don't know what typing this is. But it did use Lunge, and it did kill Asia without a care in the world. And I really like pandas, man. Now, I did look away from my screen for a single second, and in that single second, this Shuckle did something that you guys are seeing, but I have no idea what it was. All I know is I saw Gyarados' attack and defense get raised. We need to act fast. From here, I sent in Floaty, and thankfully it didn't do much to Leafeon, but it did pop a berry to up its speed in a pinch. Jesus, Raihan, what kind of strats are you working with? Luckily, an Oblivion Wing later, and that's that. And hey, Volcarona. Didn't some other gym leader have this? Ice and Steel, alrighty. Knowing that, I keep Striker in and send in Gardevoir. This is a little risky thanks to Dynamax, but all was well as we tank a Hailstorm. Oh, coaching. That's what Shuckle used. What a team player. From here, I D-Max Majesty, and we are actually not faster than this guy, and he just straight up one-shots Leafeon no problem, and if we were just faster, this wouldn't have been an issue as we one-shot it with Max Flare. 2 of my greatest Pokemon. Gone, just like that. How depressing. You two were awesome. Horrible abilities, but your typings were great. The good news is with the level cap opening up to level 53, we finally get access to Caraxes, and after losing an electric type, we gain one, as well as a rock type, which kinda sucks, but it is what it is. On Route 10, we come across my second favorite starter, the underdog Bulbasaur. Russell's here is a water type who has a great nature and a great typing, because while it might just be a water type right now, it turns into a water electric type when it evolves. Who gets Moongeist Beam of all moves? Who needs a Leafeon? Now there are a couple of mandatory fights on Route 10, and while the first few weren't too bad, this Jellicent had the move Photon Geyser and nearly KO'd Floaty. And Hail also almost took her away from us. If this was anything other than a Jellicent, I think Floaty would have definitely been 6 feet under right now. Thank God for dark types. Also, this Dracozolt has speed boost, and I think he's a fighting type, but we can't escape because he used whatever this move is. AI was pretty dumb here, but I'm realizing that move was Octolock, which is Graplock's signature move, which lowers our defenses every single turn, and I wasn't paying attention, so if he body presses here, we're done for. Oh, thank God. I don't know why the old timer is showing mercy, but thank you, sir. Okay, I take it back. He's not showing mercy anymore. Oh, come on, Wormy. You're a mean old man. And it just keeps getting worse as these two reporters are a double battle, and not knowing what Xatu is had me switching like crazy. And ultimately, Bella ended up living on 1 HP from an ice punch, but thanks to the hail being up, Bella finally, after so long, bites the dust. And this was a super important encounter. I am so scared to continue without her, but we had to, and the rest of their Pokemon didn't have any more super effective moves against any of my Pokemon. That is until Excadrill. It had the move Petal Blizzard, and against my water type Venusaur, yep, it was enough. This was a massacre. But with a gloomy battle comes a bright day, with Porygon chirping away, and we're finally in the true endgame. You two fought hard, and while we didn't have Brussels for very long, as a Chick-fil-A employee would say, it was a pleasure. With this, I took Croak off the team and added Burner, who's Bug Dark, Shove, who's Water Poison, and Caraxes, who's Rock and Electric. And from here, we're directly thrown into the semifinals against Marnie. I did forget to mention that I set all Pokemon to be fully evolved after level 45, which is why the game just became way more difficult out of nowhere, and I say that as a Greedent comes out on the field. A Greedent that straight up just hasn't hit us at all. So eventually I just go into Burner, Nasty Plot away, and when it finally does hit us, it's just Crunch. Now Leech Life is a physical move which sucks as it didn't even KO, and all these guys have potions. The good news is it has Minimize, but she only used it once. Once Greedent is down, Tauros is in, who's a fighting type. The worst thing for my dark type. I hoped we could have outsped, but we didn't, and Burner does take a big hammer arm. Our bug typing saved us there. And one Fire Pledge is enough to KO, and Shell Bell gives us a little bit of health back. With Charizard being next, I just Dark Pulse, and we unfortunately get confused. But we do break through for a super effective move. Nice, Burner. Risking another one, we KO Conkeldurr in one shot, and all that's left is Hippowdon. This is risky, but I did D-Max, and we just need to hit it. That breath must stank. And Burner did come to play. That worked out beautifully. Hop, being the eager child he is, happens to defeat his opponent fairly quickly, so we get no break at all. Thanks a lot, Hop. Oh god, not a Trevenant again. Alright, well, since everything has level up movesets, and the one previous was close to this one's level, and had King Shield, I straight up Baneful Bunker, and we're correct. Getting Encored made me switch into Burner on a King Shield, as maybe I could sweep again, and we just get Encored into Nasty Plot. Alright bro, you asked for it. After we're set up, it is a straight massacre. Someone call an ambulance, but not for me. Porygon Z did live, and it's a fighting type. However, with Hop's full restore, it just assists us as Shell Bell heals the more damage we do. Oh, you poor Maractus. I can't believe we did it twice. Burner is an absolute demon. And there goes Hop, acting like everything is okay. Bro, you can be mad. I know I'd be livid if my incompetence made me lose. That's more like it, Hop. Good boy. Of course, this next portion is Rose stuff, and it would have been better if Rose's goons just straight up kidnapped Leon, but nah, Leon is just straight chilling, free to leave at any time. Rose Tower is a little bit annoying because I set this next level cap to be at Bead, and we're getting super close to it, which is level 53. And not only are these doubles, but there's no break in between, and even on top of that, we still need to fight Olina after this. Yeah, this one definitely did a line before coming up here. Avalugg easily made work of both her Drampaw and her Torquall. Togekiss literally did nothing but power swap. Lucario died to Wheelie, but when Crobat came in, I think it was a Steel type, and Floaty can't take another max Steel Spike. Praying it goes for another one, I go into Wheelie. We tank one, and then Weavile tanks another. Now, I don't think I'm faster, but if we lived a max Steel Spike, we should live a Sunsteel Strike. Oh my god, was that a crit? Alright, well, we got a Spore off, and Arm Killer comes in for free, and max Steel Spike does up defense, so this is going to be difficult as the next turn she wakes up, and that did a ton of damage for being Dynamaxed. The good news is we have lefties, so we can max guard, and max knuckle does up our attack. So now just hoping that we live another, we max knuckle. But arm killer just doesn't live. Sunsteel strike only has 5 PP, so it should be done with using that move, and I am correct as it uses flash cannon. I flame charge as we live a hit, and then I have to make the tough play of sacking wheelie so we can will-o-wisp, because nothing else can kill this thing. From here, Floaty tanks a flash cannon to roost, and we Oblivion Wing as its special defense didn't get boosted, and 2 turns later it succumbs to its burns. It's unfortunate that I couldn't bring Palossand thanks to overleveling. And here Floaty goes over the cap, so he has to be benched, but at least we're alive. Before we can get into the finals, we run into Beat out on the field, and he starts with a T-Tar. But this T-Tar for some reason kept using the move Reflect, and since that's a psychic type move, I went into Burner. But yeah, like I said, not once did he use anything other than Reflect. So obviously I set up the +6 because why not, and this was perfect. Crobat was fast, but we lived the Sunsteel Strike, so was Charizard, but it Magnet Rised, and Seismitoad didn't stand a chance. Oh, okay, it did, but this thing has Primordial Sea, and it tried to use Max Flare, which just gets evaporated with Heavy Rain. I don't know why Opal made you a gym leader, bro. Now, I do set the level cap to Raihan, which is 55, but we're already at level 54. Nessa leads a Runerigus, and showing me some bug moves lead me to believe Oblivion Wing will be super effective, so that's what we do, and that was down fairly quickly. Baneful Bunker and Protect moves in general are so clutch in this run, as Slowbro here uses Thunderbolt, which would have been super effective. So knowing that, I go into Burner, who has Lightning Rod as its ability. But this was actually bad, as it's not actually an electric type, and the game was trying to tell me this. I figured it didn't have a fire type move, as it was using Body Press, and we're a bug and dark type. I tried to Dark Pulse, but we just take too much damage, so I ended up switching Prince, who is resisted. I accidentally hit Will-O-Wisp, which doesn't work on fire types, and after I just start Shell Side arming. Prince did outdamage it though, and Cincino is up next. This is a Steel Water type, so I go into Sinister on a Sandstorm. From here we just Spore and take it out with a Force Bomb. When Spiritomb comes in, I go into Shove, but get flattered on entry. Luckily we didn't get confused, but she taunted anyways. Expecting another one, I go into Gargoyle in for free and start Dragon Hammering until it's dead. Alcremie is Nessa's Dynamax Pokemon, and I have no idea what typing this is, so I just D-Max Avalugg with it. And unfortunately, we get Max Knuckled. And I can't even max guard as I'm actually holding an Assault Vest, so I need to switch if I don't want to lose Gargoyle. Shove is resisted though, so we can tank a hit, and by tank a hit, I mean not tank a hit, as it was indeed a crit. They call me Eminem. And we just Baneful Bunker for less damage. And thankfully Nessa goes for a max strike, as it would have been +3 attack right now, but instead it's +2. Electric Terrain doesn't do anything, which is great, as a single Oblivion Wing wins us the fight with no casualties. Only problem now is I can't really use Shove if I want to use him for Raihan, as he will level up with Beat. The good news is Prince does learn Protect via TM, so I can at least use that to guess typings. Mind Reader must mean Psychic, but if it had a damaging move, why wouldn't she use it? Either way, I go into Burner on a Liquidation, and I tried healing with Leech Life, but Obstagoon is resisted, so from here Gargoyle is up, and I have no idea what type this is, so I just Dragon Hammer away until it's dead. Now I just have to make a very bold move. Since it's using Wicked Blow and Burner is resisted, maybe I could go into her and Leech Life for maybe super effective damage. It was risky, but it indeed worked. So we not only get Leech Life health, but we also get Shell Bell health. And one more after that gets Burner pretty healthy for the next Pokemon. It was risky, but hey, it worked. Seismitoad was out once again, and apparently it was a Fairy Electric type. Prince is perfect for this, coming in on a pathetic Dazzling Gleam. Burning Jealousy doesn't work since Heavy Rain is up, and all she can do is Parabolic Charge. And with lefties on Prince, plus Protect, we can easily coil up. With 4 coils, Prince had nothing to fear. And I mean nothing. He took us all the way, and no one actually leveled past the cap there. Quill does evolve at the cap, so I did that real quick, and this was an interesting one. Steel Ghost. Adding that to the team would add another ground type weakness, so I decided not to. And Raihan was our final finalist, and he leads a Jinx. Oh god, I'm getting flashbacks. This is actually the perfect Pokemon for Shove for many reasons, but the main one is that we just kill with Water Pledge. That's revenge for before, Jinx. Steelix was out next, and this was no problem at all. Yes, it used an electric type move, but the electric type move it used was specifically for Morpeko, meaning it can't even be used. Adios, Snake. You know, I have always loved Palossand, but this is like my new Bella ever since she died. Speaking of which, Shove almost died. See, we go second, and I should have Oblivion Winged, but either way, he got a crit Aeroblast, which hurt. I totally was expecting a potion, as everyone else here has used potions, but he didn't, and Shove should have been shoved back in his ball. But he missed, and that was the most crucial miss I've ever had. Shove was alive, by the grain of his sand. And who does Raihan have next? A Genesect? They can have legendaries? How rare is it for them to have legends? I'm also realizing that Shove's shovel also spins, which is pretty cool. I've never noticed that. I do give Shove a break for Prince to come in on a Sunsteel Strike, which crit, which is why it did so much damage. The cool thing is Prince has the ability Tangling Hair, which lowers the speed of any Pokemon who comes into contact with it. So with Coil, us lowering his speed, and Protect Lefties, we're in the same exact situation as before. I don't get too greedy as he could crit, and then I just Dynamax, still don't outspeed, and set up Sun with Max Flare. All that needs to happen now is for Copperajah to be a favorable type. Okay, so it's not a favorable type, but we should live considering we have 2 defense boosts. Or not, cool. From here, I hope Shove can live while protecting, and we actually got crit, but this will force Max Quake, and we can stall out the D-Max turns by going into Floaty for free. Now, unfortunately, Max Quake does give the Pokemon special defense boosts, but after a couple, we're good. And this is because he literally has nothing else to hit us with. It just keeps using focus energy. I hated losing Prince there, but yeah. I don't know, I thought he'd live. How could you not think Rillaboom is the best Gen 8 starter? Look at that hair. This box is getting a little full. I do go get my final encounter in the Lake of Outrage, as I had my eye on this Blastoise. And it happens to be a Ghost Fairy type, which replaces Clob from all those days ago. Okay, I completely forgot about the Slumbering Weald encounter, where I got this Tympole. And this was also a Fairy type alongside its electric typing. It got access to Power Up Punch as well as Fusion Bolt. With that, we get the Rusted Sword to summon the 2 legendary dogs and go stop Chairman Rose. I lead Bose, but this Sandaconda is super powerful, doing half to us, and that's because Nature's Madness is a move that works like Super Fang. From there, we Volt Switch it to Shove, who takes a Foul Play. Then we just Venoshock for the KO. As for Amoonguss, I poisoned it with Baneful Bunker, and then got a crit with Venoshock, but Rose used Magic Powder, which turns us into a Psychic type, meaning our Black Sludge item now does damage to us. So I need to switch out. The next turn was great as Avalugg comes in on a Sludge Bomb, and Poison knocks it out. Solrock, being the Grass Steel type he is out next, and I choose Burner. With one single Nasty Plot, a Fire Pledge does the trick. Dark Pulse for a Selgor after he sets up Toxic Spikes, and Salazzle is his final Pokemon. I don't know its typing, so I do Max Guard, and Rose goes for a Max Geyser. I did risk a crit in the end, but 2 Max Darknesses do prevail. Burner, you are officially the MVP of the run. Of course, we try to help Leon catch this monster, and I do level everyone up to level 63 as Leon's cap is 65. And Eternatus still has D-Max Cannon, so I don't know if this thing has been randomized, but it looks like it did indeed have a different typing as Oblivion Wing is super effective. So with help from that and Black Sludge, we were chilling even with that burn. I don't know, man, maybe Shove is the MVP. We also did the same exact thing during the Dynamax fight, and Shove did almost die, and this fight took a century, I swear it. Anyways, once that was done, we can finally put an end to this whole run by fighting the champion of the region, Leon. And if he's anything like Hop, this should be a breeze. Well, clearly he is like Hop, or I guess Hop is like him, because look at these mannerisms. They both do the same exact thing. Leon starts with the Sirfetch'd, who is trying to use Magic Powder. So I get out of there into my prized possession, Burner. You guys already know. This thing was only hitting us with Aqua Tail, so one little Nasty Plot later, and Shell Bell action, and we're healthy. Especially since Leon uses a full restore, so we just get free health. Shiftry was his next, and Dark Pulse wasn't super effective, but it used Spectral Feet, stealing our boost and hitting us for super effective damage since we're a Psychic type from Magic Powder. For me, I go into my defensive Beast Gargoyle, and this guy has the move Hurricane, which hurts because not only is Shiftry at +2 special attack thanks to Burner, but Avalugg's special defense sucks as well. I figured I was just gonna sack Avalugg since he's had a great run, but Bullet Punch just straight up KOs. I didn't think it would. Now, the plan didn't change. I was still going to let Gargoyle die here, but they won't give him a good death. This Cloyster used Cotton Guard, which is pretty bad, but it allowed us to just roost up, and at this point I figured it was a Grass or Fairy type since Steel is super effective, but it wasn't really doing anything. That is, until I switched in Burner, who, well, died to a multi-attack. But you were way too powerful anyways. Multi-attack is its only attacking move, so we can actually get Bowser in for some action, which I'm super stoked about. One single Astral Barrage just straight up destroys this thing and Boltund is up, and down moments later, thanks to a Moonblast. Okay, Bowser, I see you. I'm glad I was able to use him a little bit before we win. And it just keeps getting better as this Dragon Psychic T-Tar is out next. And Astral Barrage didn't KO, but it sure was close. Leon only used Wish trying to scramble some type of plan together, and he actually keeps his Haxorus, but this time it's his ace. I have one, so I know it's a Poison Rock type, but Ghost type is resistant to poison, so despite Blastoise being a Fairy type, it's neutral. So I stay in, D-Max, and Max Phantasm. We did a fair amount, and the funny thing is, this thing is holding a Sticky Barb, so it's taking damage every turn. Leon is so dumb. Now, I don't just want to sack my boy, so I switch into Gargoyle, who's immune to Max Ooze, and resisted to Rockfall. And there we go, we're in for free. One little Bullet Punch later, and that's all she wrote. I'm sad Burner didn't get to see us win, but I mean, she did a lot for us. By the way, is there a Hall of Fame? Is that like not a thing anymore in these new games? Anyways, this was so much fun. Putting some light on Pokemon that I wouldn't normally use was a blast, and just having some strong Pokemon be horrible like Haxorus was funny. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I loved playing it. Give me some ideas.